home ownership rate drops to 63.4%, which is the lowest since 1967. I thought there was a housing recovery and everything was good, and all these people that decided to do the right thing saved the day, and the U.S. home ownership rate fell to 63.4% in the second quarter of 2015. So it even fell recently. But I thought recovery, according to the U.S. Census, that is down from 63.7% in the first quarter. So it's gone down a full percent in one quarter. Well, excuse me. Same quarter of 2014. First quarter of 2014. It marks the lowest home ownership rate since 1967. Home ownership peaked at 69.2% at the end of 2004, when the housing market was in the midst of an epic boom. The 50-year average is 65.3%. It is just now 5/10 from the record low, which was seen in 1965, noted Peter Buchbar, an analyst with the Lindsay Group. All of the governmental attempts, certainly aided and abetted by many players in the private sector, at boosting home ownership has gotten us to this point in time. With all the havoc it wreaked over the past 10 years, it's just another governmental lesson never learned of don't mess with the free market in human nature. Household formation, however, is rising. The number of occupied housing units grew, but all on the renter side. The number of owner-occupied units fell from a year ago. No wonder both rents and occupancies continue to soar. So, let's have a little chat about that. And you're going to hear my windshield wiper screeching, possibly. Squeaking. I told you the other day, right? Oakland, California. California, city of high rent. Oakland, California. $1,300 rent has turned into somewhere around $2,600, $2,700 rent. And the same house, same everything, in just a span of a few short years. And I'm sure that's not the only place where rent has gone up, because just look around. I told you a little, 2-3 months ago, still waiting to hear from the lawyer from Bank of America. Haven't got any paperwork or anything to basically accept or not accept their offer to have me stop fighting them in court, basically, and just leave the house. And when I originally got the offer from them, I said, well, let's look at some of the areas. I mean, we're already in Brandon, Florida, so let's look around here for, my job's in Brandon, so it'd be nice to be close to it. Right now, I'm very close to it. So let's see what's out there, right? What kind of rent prices and that sort of thing. And rent around here has gone up as well. Now, it ain't crazy like Oakland, California. It's just gone up a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I'm going to say something that, again, just a few years ago might have been $1,000 a month, $1,100 a month, is now $1,300 to $1,400 probably, roughly. So I mean that's still a considerable increase for considering it's just been a few short years. So why are so many people renting as opposed to getting in a house? Well, I'll raise my hand on that one. I'm gonna step out on a limb here and say that a lot of those people used to be homeowners, got foreclosed on, had an adjustable rate mortgage or whatever the reason. Economy took a dump. They used to have a house. They told themselves, this is the worst thing I've ever done was own a house, not realizing again it was the banker's fault, and just, oh, I'm down on my luck and I'll just have to rent from now on. So they went out and, they gotta live somewhere, right? Those are the ones that just picked up, walked away from their house, got foreclosed on, so the damage is done to you and your credit anyways, but still walked away, gave up the house no matter how many. You could have been there 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I don't know. And bad luck strikes, well, again, what we were calling bad luck when really it was an agenda by the club to do this to everybody. But we'll just call it bad luck because we don't want to think someone did this to us. And you lost all that. All those payments you made. You may have owed a little bit on the house, but still realizing I can't pay it off now anyways. I lost my job or whatever. I got to move back in with my parents, or maybe my parents got to move in with me, or whatever it may be. And all of that money, all of those years of payments, gone down the toilet. Now the bank, in that instance, they're going to want to foreclose on you ASAP. They're not going to want to let that drag on because they have an asset. Even with the crappy market at the time, right, everything was collapsing in price, your house was still worth way more than what was owed on it. So when you start falling behind on payments, bank wasn't there to help you. No, we want that asset so we can resell it and make thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, even in the crappy market, because you've been paying on that house for so many years. You paid down that note. You didn't pay it off, you just paid it down. And then again, we'll call it bad luck strikes. Well, now you're devastated because you realize how much money you threw away. And I would have argued you should have stayed as long as you could at that point, because the bank got so much money from you and all that interest payments they've gotten from you. Do you realize, on average, the lifespan of a home loan during that time, you will have paid back the bank approximately 3 times the value of the original loan. You heard that correct. So hold on a minute. My house is worth $150,000, J-Snap. You're telling me that I will have paid back somewhere around $450,000 or so, $400,000, let's just say? Yes, that's correct. Doubling it would be $300,000. Tripling it would be $450,000. So yes, and again, it all depends on the interest rate a little bit, right? And for a while we've had some lower interest rates, so that rule of thumb may not apply just as precisely as it used to, but that rule of thumb has applied for a long time. So before you say, I gotta do the right thing and just walk away from the house. Okay, well, first of all, you're not doing the right thing. You have a debt obligation, sir or ma'am. I don't want to hear that you lost your job. I don't want to hear that they cut or you had to take a downgrade and pay. You took that loan out and you owe it. So anyone that tells me I'm not doing the right thing, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Look at your own self and ask, have you ever had to do anything? Again, not to say that was even your fault, you just couldn't afford it or whatever it was. Bad time struck, my husband, my wife, whatever, lost their job and we had no choice. We had to downsize, we had to move into an apartment. So you sold your house? No, we couldn't sell it because we owed more than it was, worth at the time. So we unfortunately just let the bank have it. Now they'll say we just let the bank have it to try to sound good, but in reality, you defaulted on that payment, that house, that obligation. So anybody in that situation who ever thought old J-Stam 4 wasn't doing the right thing and he did it differently, that was wrong. You had an obligation, you defaulted, you quit paying. I had an obligation, I did research into my obligation to say, is this a true obligation? Because from what I can tell, there's some giant holes in this mortgage I have, in the note, etc. Chain of title, got a clouded title, you name it. MERS registration, the whole 9 yards. So I actually thought, this isn't just to like get even at the banks. No. I have a legitimate problem, and if I have this problem, and as I come to find out, somewhere around 8 out of 10 mortgages have that same problem. Got a little issue on our hands now, don't we? Could you imagine making payments for the life of your mortgage? 10, 15 years, 20 years from now, it goes on. Alright, time to pay this off. Final payment, we own our house free and clear. One day comes, you gotta try to sell the house. Title company does the research. Hey, I know you own the house, it's in your name, but there's been a problem with this title. And even though it looks like it's free and clear now, there's another entity that it looks like really owns this note. It wasn't signed off properly or whatever. It has a clouded title, even though you have the title and it's in your name. As a title company, I have to report this to the buyer. Buyer's not going to want to hear that. And he's going to say, no thanks, or decide to step out on a limb themselves and just go ahead and do it. So, the other day I talked about, my little complete opinion theory that the club more than likely thinks it's their like I said, Lloyd Blankfein, new billionaire, by the way, right behind Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan Chase. Lloyd Blankfein doing God's work. Lloyd Blankfein of Goldman Sachs said, again, we're doing God's work. But when I hear that, that tells me you guys are going to let everything crash and deflate and be destroyed. Like you're literally resetting the game of life on everybody so that other people have an opportunity, is probably what you're telling yourself. While destroying other people's lives who had some kind of assets that now have to sell them or whatever because of hard times that they thought was an act of God, when really, unless you think the act of God was Lloyd Blankfein doing God's work, then you'd be correct, but not really. So the bottom line here is that housing, people are running away from it. It's going to be a renter's nation here if things keep going the way they are. But with rent in Oakland, California at from $1,300 to now $2,600+, that's not sustainable. So some of us will actually be thanking the elite. Will actually be thanking the elite for resetting everything. And there's not going to be a whole lot of us thanking them. Do you have precious metals? Yes. At least a decent quantity? Yes. Then you will be the few who benefit. You will be the few who are able to go around and find all these depressed prices on all kinds of stuff. And I said this a long time ago. If you're in the market for a boat or a four-wheeler or some little toy, right? Those kind of items, when people are struggling to pay bills, will be sold, and they're going to find out that just coincidentally enough, there are also other people at the same exact time, in the same situation they're in, selling the same types of items, which means there's going to be a fire sale for things that you don't need, just things that you want. But if you're one of the people in the position that has the money or the silver, gold, etc. to sell to get money, buy some kind of assets, go for it. So I got someone with an umbrella coming to help me out. Take care.